Well, welcome to the week ahead, and it's the middle of the week.
Yes.
Wednesday, we have the LegCo again.
Yeah, council meeting. So we're back in action in that.
So, what should we focus today?
Okay. Government's going to be coming in and giving a report on what's been going on with the Competition Commission. And kind of, the lead up there. I guess, this coming quarter is when they're really going to swing into action. And so, they're going to be giving their reports. I think what'll be interesting to look for in that one is to see how quickly they are ramping up on staff. Because that will go to their capacity to respond to complaints. I think when the Competition Commission finally, opens its doors for real, it's going to be interesting because you'll have, as long as people have had perceived grievances about flaws in competition in their heads, they'll be waiting until the Competition Commission opens their doors. So at the beginning, I think there'll be a big big avalanche of these things coming in, most of which I suspect are going to be frivolous and get thrown out.
Okay.
Because people don't understand.
So normally the capacity should be like this.
Yeah.
But once it starts, they might handle something like that.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things that people wants to know whether they can sue or not.
Yeah.
So there will be a bad luck in the very beginning.
I think so.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think a couple of reasons for that. There's pent-up demand, I think would be the term. Because they haven't had
Pent-up demand.
Pent-up demand. People have just been waiting for this and maybe years. I think the second thing is that a lot of people will launch complaints without having an understanding of the law and what constitutes a legitimate grievance.
Yep.
People will.
Well, some of them could be for political reasons.
There will be the politically motivated
for exposure
ones.
reasons.
Yeah. I think this was one of the main concerns about this law that was voiced was, is it just going to become a political tool? I think it's going to become a political tool. I don't see how it can be avoided.
But it really depends on whether the commission will do it fairly.
Yeah.
And show people that this is the thing we are going to do, and this is how we're going to deal with the pent-up demand.
Yeah. It's it's going to be interesting because I think a lot of it depends on how the Competition Commission publicly handles kind of frivolous complaints, whether it's because they're political or because people are just ignorant of how the law works.
Yep.
Somebody walks in and says, "Oh, I went to 2 stores and they have the same price. Somebody must be price fixing." There's going to be a lot of that. Angry granny has to walk 50 meters to get 10 cents off something. She's going to launch a complaint.
We'll see.
So there will be some of that.
This will be the focus for today.
Yeah, the Competition Commission. Well, there's of course LegCo. There's always a lot going on. Kwok Ka-ki is going to be raising a question with regards to abuse of public housing. And I think that my personal experience is that we are entering a new era of public housing demand. Because we have people who've grown up in public housing, and a lot of them now are university educated. And if there's one thing university teaches you, it is how to game the system, how to do paperwork. And I've just very personal examples close to me. I wish they weren't so close, but of people who've been able to figure out, if I do this, this, and this, I can jump to the front of the queue. And people who are living in cage homes are competing with people like that.
Yep.
And I think Kwok Ka-ki is specifically going to raise the issue of uninhabited flats.
But this is where politics and demand clashes.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the people who should be living outside of public housing because of their income level and all that, they are still staying in public housing and paying a higher rent as the more richer families.
Absolutely.
As the richer families.
Yeah.
And which is not fair to a lot of people who really needs public housing.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are actually living in city center. That's why they're willing to pay higher rent.
Yeah.
So I think, but the problem is you cannot drive them out because a lot of politicians view them as votes.
Yes.
And they build up the relationship with them. They don't want them to be driven out.
Well, that's part of it. Is people staying in when they still shouldn't be in there. Part of it is we've had cases reported in the papers where people get a family of 4. They're told when the kids grow up and leave, you will then move into a flat for 2. 20 years later,
all right,
that doesn't happen. Throws all the planning off. I know of examples where people come back from being overseas educated at high quality universities, deliberately won't take a job until they qualify for public housing. Or take a job, and I took one for 6,000 Hong Kong, got in public housing, and then immediately got a new job for 28,000.
Yeah, and this is so unfair, to the real demand.
Oh yeah,
so unfair. So we should pick up the keyword for today. Pent-up, maybe.
Pent-up demand.
Yeah, pent-up demand.
The pent-up demand for perceived abuse of competition, which I think a lot. I say perceived. you know, with the big quotes, because I think a lot of it's going to be frivolous, and then pent-up demand for public housing, which maybe is being generated by people gaming the system.
That's the word for today?
Yeah.